Good evening. This is President Simmons, and today again is August 12th, 2025, and I'm opening for our Rochester City School District work session, Board of Education work session to be exact. In alignment with the state monitor's academic plan, we are being asked to implement roll call, which is new for our district, and that is for commissioners that are physically present, I believe. And so at this time, I'm going to enter into roll call here at the dais, starting with Vice President Malloy. Present. Commissioner Griffin. Commissioner LeBron. Present. Commissioner Patterson. Present. Commissioner Santiago.
Present.
And Clerk Charisma, do we have anyone online currently? Okay, and so we may have a commissioner joining us online, and when so, I will acknowledge their presence if they are able to make it to today's work session. At this time, you have recorded the roll call. At this time, thank you. So moving forward, we need to move into the postponement of the items from our board business meeting. We conducted a board business meeting on July 31st. The general public does understand that we did lose quorum on that day. We did not have physical quorum to complete the business of the board. So we are entering into this space where we need to finish out a few items from that particular board meeting before we can dive into the work session. First item being a policy discussion that was posted on that area. So I'm going to ask that you, Charisma, if you could go over some of those items.
Good evening. So the first item will be policy 4095, high school to post-secondary education. At the last work session in July, Commissioner Santiago specifically had talked about this policy really spelling out CTE more and also college and trade school. And so that's where the conversation left off. And so 4095 was last amended back in June. So at this time, I'm not sure if other commissioners have any additional feedback to add, if anyone is looking to change, amend the policy.
At this time, the dais is open for any commissioners who have, well, should we be calling this to motion or anything? Because we're going to try to go into the readings for these policies, right?
So, no, this one already was amended back in June.
Okay, gotcha.
So the question is more so, is the board looking to further, amend it or just leave it as is, really is the question.
Okay, yes, so I'm going to open the dais for further discussion regarding this particular policy. Policy 4095, it's post-secondary. With no further discussion, did you have additional comments, Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, for that policy, I definitely would love to hear feedback from the superintendent. It doesn't have to be now, tonight at this public meeting, but for that policy, just to see if there's any areas that could better support CTE and secondary CTE schooling and certification for that policy. And next up, the policy for civic education. I took time to look at the New York State regulations.
We want to just stick on just this post-secondary one. I don't think this is
Okay.
civic right now.
And that's all I have to say for that one. Thank you.
So you want to hear comments from the superintendent on the post-secondary piece?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on this. This is a very important policy to our school district as it speaks to how we're going to support our students who are interested in a post-secondary opportunity beyond high school. What I would like to do, if at all possible, because I was not prepared with statements for today, is to prepare some statements and to sort of work with the team, because we are or will be implementing some additional supports for all of our students this upcoming year to prepare them not only for college, but also to prepare them for career and those who may be interested in serving in the military. So there's going to be some work that we're going to be doing over the next year, in which I would like to include as a part of my comments to this particular policy an update as to what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Superintendent.
Thank you. Any other comments on policy 4095, specifically being the high school to post-secondary education policy? Commissioner Griffin?
Thank you. Thank you, President Simmons. This particular policy is, as we said, the other commissioner stated, that is very important. What is very important that I look at when I look at this policy is the ability for us to have counselors in the schools that are proficient in setting our kids up for higher education or skill trained as needed or as fitted based on what the child's needs are. In the past, Dr. Rosser, what a lot of the concerns were is that the counselors were not being utilized as just counselors. So we had an overflow of the counselors doing a lot more work than they should have been instead of just being counselors to the children. And I think that was a push-pull. So I think that our counselors need to be thoroughly educated in the process, and their job description should suit what is needed for the child. So I know in a previous commissioner, Natalie Shepherd, was trying to implement a counseling a counseling policy that would befit the counselors and help the children reach their goals, rather it be with the skilled trades or be in a higher education. So I definitely think that we should definitely look at the counselors and making sure that the counselors can be counselors like as the teachers can be teachers, so that we don't have it overlapping and they have the abilities to do what they need to do with our children.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. And so in regard to this particular policy, 4095, just based on the policy as it's written, there is one key component I'm looking at under measures and standards, and that's number 1, and it somewhat echoes what Commissioner Griffin states, where it states per NISBA's Commissioner regulations, school counselors must complete an annual individual progress review with every student. And so, of course, that had me thinking about the ratios of counselor to students, caseloads, and ability to reach them all. And so I look forward to the plans that you have, Dr. Rosser, that will talk about how we will operationalize and implement said policy. It does sound like, based on this conversation, Charisma, that there is additional conversation we need to have on this particular policy. And so if the board is amenable, I would like to, where would we put that so that we can move it for additional work?
So my recommendation is to potentially choose a work session, so it's at the top of the agenda. So I don't know if the board wants to take September, because I know the superintendent had requested some additional time, or October.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that because I'd rather it be done right than done quickly. And so if October is what he needs, I would like to appeal to the full board for that. And I see several consensus, but I don't want to make that mistake. So with a yay or nay, October for this particular policy, moving it to the October work session?
Yeah.
Yay?
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, this policy will move forward to the October work session.
Along with policy review and conversation, can I also prepare a presentation to go along with the conversation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Charisma, are we on 4311.2? Did you want to introduce that, or?
So with policy 4311.2, civic education, the last time the board discussed this was during the July work session. It was supposed to be rescinded, but based on the vote, it was not rescinded. And so the conversation became, some commissioners felt they wanted to make it more local because the policy as is written follows New York State's requirements. And so the question at this point is that the direction the board wants to go? And if so, what exactly the policy needs to look like to make it feel more local?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to open up this particular policy, 4311.2, civic education. We have had some colorful conversation around this policy, opportunity to unpack it and see what that means for us. I know that Commissioner Elliott, who has now joined us online, I do want to acknowledge that she is here, had mentioned the gentleman Bill Benet, who had the polarities and values, and I think he had a theory or framework that was embedded in this particular policy. When you look at that particular theory and framework, the social change and the balancing of these pairs, there's pairs within this framework: freedom versus authority, justice versus due process, diversity versus equity, or equality, should I say, human rights versus communal obligations, and participation versus representation. And I think those foundational elements are really strong, so I understand what the spirit of that was, but that framework is existing in a policy, which gets us into some other spaces. What I'd like to do before we go into the board conversation is defer to the state monitor to just kind of touch on the domains of civic readiness that is available for public viewing on the NISBA site. I'm looking at this here, civic knowledge and this readiness. Tell us more about what they were looking for from us before the board discusses.
Thank you, President Simmons. When I look at the document, the policy first, it doesn't follow the format that the board has adopted for policy. The State Education Department established a task force, a committee in around 2015 to look at civic readiness in New York State. And out of that committee work, there were some recommendations for school district to pilot a curriculum on civic readiness and for the student to be able to obtain, like the seal for biliteracy, also the seal for civic readiness. And instead of having the 5 Regents exam, they could do the 4+1 as an option. There's work that the district needs to do. They have to apply for that. But all the information, it is there about elections, about government, about being engaged, developing some capstone project, and those projects begin at the middle school level and at the high school level. So there's a lot of work that is already being done to address civic readiness. Do I believe that this is important? It is important, but there are already resources out there that we can use that will benefit our students here in Rochester, that they could graduate with the seal of civic readiness also.
Thank you for that foundation and understanding. I do have some commissioners with some thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Commissioner Santiago, and move my way in. Ms. Vice President Malloy, did I also see your hand? Okay, let me start with you, Commissioner Santiago.
Yeah, I've taken time to look at the New York State regulation rule. Civic readiness. I graduated with civic readiness, so I do know about civic readiness. And I think the solution to preparing our students for civic education and civic readiness isn't in the policy, it's in the operation. And so I do have some criticisms for how civic education is handled in the district, but I don't believe that the answer is through a policy. And so I believe that the policy can be deaded, but I say that with criticism to the district and how we're operating and getting our students civically prepared, both locally, statewide, federally, but most importantly locally. I think a lot of times that's overlooked. Even in our current education, and it's important for our decisions every year. There's an election every year, and I don't think a lot of students know that. And so I have criticism with how we're currently getting our students civically ready. I don't believe that the answer is in policy, so I believe it could be deaded, but I hope for better civic readiness training inside of our district.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Vice President Malloy.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to agree with all of the sentiments shared. A lot of times in school, kids don't really have access to some of the civic readiness until 11th grade for U.S. history or 12th grade when they take participation in government. And kids should really have that at every grade level, in my opinion. Again, I don't think that we should put this necessarily in a policy, but I think this warrants certainly maybe a social studies department review, so that more kids have access to that seal of civic readiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Malloy. I tend to echo the sentiments expressed, and I'm, considering I think civic readiness is necessary for all students anywhere across the globe, definitely. But when we look at Black and brown communities, we should understand, unless we're tone deaf, why it's so important, especially in school districts like the Rochester City School District. And so making sure that students are armed with how they can be liberators of themselves is extremely important. And so to your points made, it can't just lie in a policy. Things die sometimes in practice and policy. It's how we make them live beyond that. And so I'm, again, excited to see how we may operationalize that. Do any other commissioners have thoughts? And also, is there a hand online? And then I'll come back, I'll loop back down. And I see your hand, Commissioner Patterson. I'll go to Griffin, then LeBron, and then online. Yes.
Yeah, I concur. So I agree with you and what my colleagues here are saying relative to it doesn't necessarily have to be a policy, but be implemented in some fashion. Thank you.
I think it should be a policy. I actually think that we have the PIG program, and the PIG program basically mimics or helps kids to be able to engage in the civic engagement. And I know that there's a lot of different organizations and different events that occur within the city of Rochester that the kids can actually get credit for through the PIG program, which is through social studies. So I would like to see, if not anything, make sure that we are letting our children, our students know that these different events are happening and they can get the credits for them, and that too will give them more of civic engagement. I don't think that we're pushing that a lot. I think that here again, that we have the policies that are outlined for our children, but they're not being utilized in the proper way, and this is why we are failing our children. So it's written there, we just need to enhance it and make it, and maybe if not, make it separate, making sure that we do address the needs of our children accordingly, based on how the policy is written. Thank you.
Thank you. And are these existing in 4095? No, okay. 4095 is post-secondary, right? Thank you. Commissioner LeBron?
Thank you. I just also want to uplift the part of the conversation that's missing is that it was recommended that this policy be removed from the district because it's required by law. And so when there is a law in place and it comes down, Yes, we don't need a policy when something is law, and I just want to continue to reiterate that piece. And I know that in this district, we have a number of policies that are law, and we've taken the last couple of years to try to audit ourselves on these policies, and we still have a number of policies to remove. But I also want to uplift that often these times, these conversations sound real flowery and great up here on the dais, but the reality is, to Commissioner Santiago's point, is the implementation and the lived experience on the other end is that the students are not getting all that we hoped for it to be. And in addition to that, there's other opportunities in this community that we should be uplifting. And I do want to uplift to the new superintendent that one of the feedbacks that we have heard, I know I can say for myself and Commissioner Santiago, because he's been at that table, is from the Board of Elections around having access to schools and being able to set up and do that informal education piece in between, because the law allows for them to have access to the schools, and it's just been really difficult for them to get in. So to the Commissioner's point, if we could look at our current implementation plan, but also look at how we partner with other outside agencies that could provide these for free and provide that support for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other hands? Commissioner Elliott?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I actually am in favor of us continuing that as a policy. And while I do think that we can implement that without a policy, I think that a policy makes it stronger, and it gives seriousness to this civic work that we think is important for our community. And it just demonstrates that the board, in my view, takes this serious about putting it in a policy. A lot of times things, well, even when we have policies, they don't always get implemented. But I do think that because this was a policy, this was something that came from the community, we want our young people to be as involved in the community as they possibly can. I just think that it would be made stronger if it was in policy. Now, I think I heard the state monitor says that it's in law. And I just think that coming from the district and us having our own policy, it would add more credence to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Elliott. I actually do agree with that statement. I know that the language said not legally required, but we recognize that sometimes when people see that it's not required, that they're like, it's not required. And so then they dance around, and it's important to drive that through policy, but again, more importantly, practice. So with that said, I think we've had enough conversation around this topic. I'd like to get the will of the board on where we want to go with this particular policy, because we have been talking about both of these for quite some time, and so we need to have a final decision. Commissioner?
Yeah, can we motion now to, and vote on just removing it now?
We can do,
Okay.
yeah.
So you want me to
So we
motion?
want to go ahead and do that.
Yes, motion to rescind.
Motion to, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Motion to rescind policy 4311.2.
Yeah, motion.
Motion by Commissioner LeBron, seconded by Vice President Malloy. All in favor of rescinding policy 4311.2?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm a nay.
Now, so that I'm clear, it's 5-2, 5 saying yes, 2 saying nay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And so motion carries, 4311.2 carries, and the policy will be rescinded. And as stated earlier, we are working with CGCS on a policy diet, so that will fall in alignment with things they're looking to do. Go ahead, Charisma. She has you down on here. So I'm good with that. Go ahead.
So in regards to those two policies, that's the discussion. I don't know if we want to move on. The rest of them are motions from the previous meeting. I can give insight for any of the ones there are questions about.
Okay. So I'm not sure why she has you down for these things, that I'm following this along, but I'm just going to take this at this point in time. And so I'm going to motion to amend the 25-26 board meeting calendar. This was postponed to this work session as well.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner LeBron. Any conversation around the Board of Education meeting calendar?
No.
I do have anything I just wanted to say. No hand, Commissioner? No. Okay. They do have the speaker forums highlighted. I do want to recognize that we, as a board, said, yes, we want speaker forums, and as you look at this calendar, they're woven in. Historically, we don't get a lot of speakers, and so one of the conversations was, we may get a speaker that comes in, maybe it's one, maybe it's none, but we have this opportunity here. They may be here for 3 minutes, and staff will be required to stay over, and those type of things. So I just wanted to present that thought process to the board and see where we are with that in regard to the speaker forum. So again, they are scheduled to be woven into our schedules, starting at 5:30. Best course would be that we would get a bunch of people here and speaking on behalf of education for students in Rochester. The way things have been going, we don't tend to get a lot of speakers. Where are we? Commissioner Griffin?
I think you might have forgot about me. I just wanted to ask one question of the board or of you. When we, with the last, the civic engagement, I just don't want it to get lost in any updates. So how, can we confirm when we're gonna come back to that to make any adjustments that we need to make as a board on that civic engagement so that it doesn't get lost, because we got so much short period of time before the school year starts. We want to make sure any updates that are needed within the civic engagement that are gonna be conducive to our children in this year and next year, that they are made. So can we definitely pinpoint a date, or should we be waiting again?
What I believe came out of that particular communication is that we have rescinded that policy.
Right, but there are some adjustments that we probably need to make, so my concern is that
Adjustments to what? Please clarify.
to the civic engagement, we wanted to look at them to ensure that how it is written is how we're gonna keep it, and I don't think we made that particularly clear. We just made it clear that we were going to rescind it. So are we gonna keep it as it is written, or are we gonna just rescind it to keep it as, I guess that's what I'm trying to verify.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So Commissioner Griffin, when the board decides to rescind a policy, that means it's removed from the policy manual. It will no longer exist unless the board decides to bring the policy back. But it's yes, it is legally required. So as of today, this policy no longer exists. The board has not requested any additional actions be made by the superintendent or the board office, and so this policy will no longer exist. It'll be removed from the policy manual.
Okay, and I want to just kind of bring order back to the discussion. I allowed for that, but I do want to go to the matter at hand right now, which we do have the speaker forum. And so I've opened the floor specifically to discuss where we are with the speaker forum, and I wanted to put out what was brought to my attention around the potential for speakers, one coming or none coming. Is the board comfortable with that? Commissioner or Vice President Malloy?
Yeah, I'm potentially comfortable with that. Does this replace the speaker section of our business meetings?
No.
No. So
It's
this
in
is
addition
in
to.
addition to.
Correct.
I think any opportunity to listen to the public is a good one, whether there's one person or 100.
Absolutely. Commissioner LeBron?
The only thing I would add and keep in our own policy and our bylaws is that speakers have to sign up by 12 o'clock the day of, and we don't have speakers by 12 o'clock the day of. Staff don't need to stay. There's no listening session if there's no speakers.
But I think the question was that we may have one person sign up, and then that's going to be like 3 minutes, but it's one person, it's one voice, and it's still just as important to
Oh,
Vice President
absolutely.
Lloyd as 100.
Yeah.
But we wanted to consider logistically the fact that we'll have staff staying after and things of that nature to make sure we're accommodating, and I just wanted to put that logistical thought process. Charisma, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out in the bylaws, it was included that if there are no individuals who had registered by noon, it will be a notification that goes out to the community as well as any staff so that they know that the forum is canceled. So then that way they don't have to stay for the hearing why do I keep saying hearing? The forum at that time.
Right. We understand that if no one signs up, the question was more around, we may get like a hand, one or two people, and then that's 6 minutes, 3 minutes, and that consideration. But it sounds like the board is okay with that, and I just wanted to make sure we were not missing that.
I just want to respond to that
yeah.
clarification then to that end. I'm okay if it's just one person, and I know that it doesn't always feel good for staff, and trust me, I do direct services too, I get it. But to the point made earlier, it's every voice should matter and count. And this is our way of giving the community an opportunity to have voice because we've changed our structure with committees as well. So we have a community that's used to a process of committees and being able to sign up to speak for these committees based on the topic at hand. So again, in committees, we get one person at a time sometimes, and sometimes we get none, and that's okay. But if you all want to have a conversation about potentially where does it get cut off? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? For me, it doesn't get cut off unless it's 0, but that's my number, and I can't speak for your numbers. Thanks.
Right, okay. Commissioner Santiago?
If you can ask your question over again.
No, so this is not even my question, it was a question posed to me, and I didn't want to answer on behalf of the board. So I said, I'll present this to the board for conversation and consideration, which was that when we look at how our folks come to or not come to meetings at times, this is an opportunity to build public engagement with the Board of Education. The best hope is that we will have these opportunities and they will continue to come, and we'll see numbers and people coming to fight on behalf of education. With that said, the question was posed around, you might get one person and you all will be commuting in to be here for that 5:30 meeting. I'm okay with that. but come in for that 5:30 meeting, you've got one person, 3 minutes, and then the meeting's over. Staff have stayed after, that type of thing. Are you going to be okay with that? I did not want to answer that on behalf of the board.
No, I do agree, but if there's a possibility of our staff saying like, hey, there's a board business meeting coming up, there might be more speakers there, will you like to move over to that date? You know, possibly like giving that, you know, just that recommendation, like, you're the only speaker who signed up for this speaker's portion, but there's another meeting, you know, Thursday, would you rather speak there? You know, because sometimes a person might not want to come by themselves and be the only person speaking too. So I think unless it's 0 people, we should keep it going, but there should also be that, hey, here's a recommendation. We have a business meeting coming up that you might want to speak at. There'll be other people there.
Thank you for your thoughts and consideration. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on this topic? So it looks like from what I'm hearing, the appetite of the board is to move forward with that. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to amend the 25-26 board meeting calendar as stated here.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Santiago. Oh, did I already put it out there? Perfect. All in favor of amending this particular calendar, 25-26 board meeting calendar?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Okay. Did you want to introduce this? This is a motion to approve the board newsletter and standard operating procedure. This was also postponed during the business meeting. If you click on the links, there is a newsletter that exists. This is an opportunity for the Board of Education, different commissioners to share, you know, new and exciting things that are happening, student outcomes that are taking place, how we are focusing on that governance. We have an advisory group corner, so different policies that we can highlight and talk about, but a way for the community to engage with the school board and learn about work that's taking place beyond viewing business meetings and listening sessions. So I think that might be a great opportunity. I want to lift Clerk Nguyen. I had that vision, and she put that visual together, and I think it looks phenomenal, actually. And it may be a good opportunity to lean in. So with that said, a motion to approve the board. Well, we also have the standard operating procedure next to it. And if folks take a look at that, it tells you how things work with that.
Yeah, can I just?
Yes. Commissioner LeBron.
I have February and Commissioner Elliott has October. I just want to ask if we could potentially switch, because then I can speak about Hispanic heritage and she can focus on Black History Month.
Yeah, and I think these.
Okay. All right, no, that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that said, motion to approve the board newsletter and standard operating procedures as it states.
Motion.
Motion
Can I
by
just
Vice
say
President.
something?
Yes, Commissioner Alley, before we take this.
Commissioner LeBron, I'm not here in February.
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't even want to, she told me, I
Just what
know,
you
that's
got on
why I
the
said
table.
I'll take it back, I'll walk it back, I'm sorry.
Oh, all right, just clarification.
Thank you. Motion to
Thank
approve
you.
the board newsletter, Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner LeBron. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Did we get a chance to get feedback?
On the newsletter, you know, I apologize. Thank you
No,
for
I
that.
just want to say I liked it. I looked over it.
I should have
liked the
opened that for
format.
discussion, but I did not. But please, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, we already accepted it.
We're already talking, okay.
But I just wanted to say I liked it. I liked the format. I like the idea, and look forward to it happening.
I think it'll be good. Thank you.
President Simmons?
yes.
Before you turn it over to the next person, can I just interject really quickly about policy 4311.2? I just want to say this publicly. Normally, there would have been a resolution written up, but it's the waive policy 2410 policy management because of the readings. And also just so that there was a number assigned. Because that did not happen, I I just talked to General Counsel Neal, who said I just need to say publicly that a number will be assigned to the rescission of policy 4311.2, and that the board understanding that you're waiving the policy that requires 3 readings, which is policy 2410. So I just want to put that out there publicly.
Okay.
Can you please repeat that, Charisma? And slow down
So,
just a little
yes.
bit for me. Thank you.
Policy 4311.10, civic education, was just rescinded by the board. Typically, there is a resolution that would have been prepared for you all to vote and a number assigned. That did not happen because, of course, this happened on the spot. So I just wanted to put out there that a number will be assigned and it will be reflected on board docs, as well as understanding that policy 2410, policy management, that requires 3 readings is also being waived. Normally, you guys would have went through, each month, and we didn't do that, which is fine, but I just want to put that out there publicly. Right, but because you voted last month to not rescind it, and now we came back to rescind, I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly as well, and so I just. Last month, you all voted to not to rescind it, and then to bring it back this month to have further conversation.
I think it was pushed forward into the business meeting, but we never finished the business meeting because we lost quorum for that conversation.
No, back in the June work session I'm referring to, sorry, because I know
Okay.
it was at the business.
No worries.
Yeah,
So
so we're
right now,
good.
what I hear you saying is
We're
that
good.
this will be reflected on board docs?
Yes, the
Thank you
number
for
will be
that
reflected on board
information.
docs, the resolution will be reflected in board docs.
No worries.
Yep.
So actually, this is for you, Charisma, because you usually go over the policies. So I'm going to turn over the policy discussion items that we have here.
Yes.
Thank you very much, President Simmons. I think I'm up first. I'm giving the NISBA updates for July. The NISBA had a couple of policy recommendations and updates in July. I am going to kind of bundle a couple of them because they touch on, some of them touch on really connected policies. So just to be expedient. There's a recommended update to policy 1120, regulation, I should say, 1120. So this is changes suggested to this regulation include clarification on restrictions on the release of student or teacher principal PII. The district does have a regulation 1120R titled Confidentiality of Education Records. I think this recommended update is an opportunity to go and take a look at that. It is it's a pretty old regulation at this point. So I expect to take a look at it, circulate to pertinent parties and bring, and potentially update through the superintendent because again, that is a regulation. NISBA is recommending some updates to policy 5500 student records. Some of the changes suggested to this policy include clarification on annual notification requirements, which do not need to include the Parents' Bill of Rights or data breach complaints, though this is optional for districts. SCD, Office of Data Privacy, also recommends receiving directory information opt-outs throughout the year, instead during a short window. Similarly, there is a change recommended to 5500R. Changes suggested to this regulation include removal of language outlining the Parents' Bill of Rights and third-party supplemental information. And finally, there is a change to 5500, which deals with suggested changes include clarifying the scope of this policy in the title and subtitle, clarifying the district's options in obtaining parent permission for student surveys, opt-out versus opt-in, and including that parents must be notified of anticipated specific or approximate dates of activities covered by this policy. So the district does have a policy 5500, and the district, much of what NISBA is recommending, in my opinion, is covered in our 5500 and in our policy 1120, district records policy, as well as 1120R. 1120 was updated just a year ago. But 1120R is due for an update. As it pertains to the most pertinent or maybe significant one, is the maybe suggested changes to the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. This is already covered to an extent in Policy 5500 and our Policy 5500, but this update is potentially significant because it suggests potential changes to how directory information is treated, which school districts generally have a lot of discretion over. So again, we'll connect with pertinent departments and personnel and bring a recommendation to the board. There is a suggested policy update to 8635, information, data privacy, security breach, and notification. Again, changes suggested to this policy include outlining required elements of the Parents' Bill of Rights, the third-party supplemental information, clarifying minimum required elements of third-party contracts. Similarly, they're suggesting a change to 8635R, which include addition of a definition of a contract, clarification of the complaint process, and responsibility of staff to report breaches of PII. The district, again, has much of this information covered under a different policy, Policy 1300, which is our security breach and notification. Based on what I'm seeing, the 1300 might need minor tweaks based on these recommendations. So again, we'll connect with pertinent persons and bring that back to the board. And the last thing is, it's really a note. There was not a policy recommendation included with this, and I'll read this one. So you may have heard or read about this case, and they're referring to a case called Mahmoud v. Taylor, which relates to parent opt-out requests of LGBTQ+ inclusive books on the basis of First Amendment rights, of their First Amendment rights to exercise their religion in the upbringing of their children. This is a complex and highly debated issue. NISBA is reviewing this case with legal counsel to see what, if any, policy impact there could be. Your school staff may receive requests from parents to opt their children out of books on a religious basis. At this time, we urge you to consult with your school attorney for guidance on how to handle these requests. And so here's what your school counsel has to say. I did already share some of this information with the cabinet, so I know that the superintendent and the cabinet is reviewing some options. This one could have significant educational and school process impact. So we're currently reviewing for any potential impacted policies. I'm only currently aware of one board policy that specifies an opt-out within the process, and that's 4850, use of animals in science instructions. Parents can opt out of that. So we may already have protocols that aren't formal policies or regulation, but the district may have to create or update, a policy or regulation. For example, there's a superintendent regulation on textbook adoption, 4511R, and again, that could be a place to address this quickly. But again, this one could have significant impacts from the school year.
Okay, thank you, General Counsel Neal.
Welcome.
Do we have any questions around what was presented just now? NISBA policy recommendations. With none, Santiago?
I just want to say that with that possible policy change possibly coming up, I think it's also, and this is just a comment, but it's also important for us to create. I know we don't want to create more policies, but we do have a committee that's going to be reviewing policies, but also to set protections and support to our LGBTQ+ students in our district. I don't think that it should just be, we're taking away, but also what can we give in support to our LGBTQ+ students. And that's just a comment. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And, I think the opportunity for us also lies in the guardrails that we create, and that might help with some of that. With no further discussion, Commissioner, were you going over the policies at this time?
Yes, ma'am, but before we do, I realized we skipped a motion from Section 2 regarding, which one was it?
No, we did.
2B, the parent and student advisors. That one wasn't
You
voted
know what? I
on.
have that in my notes. Thank you. Okay. So let's go to that. Thank you for bringing me to that. And this is for motion regarding the 2300 E3, parent and student advisories. Entertaining a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Patterson. And we're going to open that conversation at this time. Commissioner Santiago?
Is that policy 4095? I'm just looking at the agenda. You said 2B. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, so 2B
2300.
is 2300E3, the parent and student advisors, SOP and rubric.
Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
Oh, is it 2C on here?
Oh, it's 2C.
Oh, it's 2C,
Looking at 2B. I'm looking.
I'm
unless-
sorry, I forgot I added that motion that we've added additional things that weren't
Okay,
already
so
on
refresh
there.
it because
So
of-
refresh
okay.
it, so actually, I gotta refresh mine now, I do
Okay, because mine is still
apologize.
showing as 2B as well.
Yeah, I gotta,
Oh, my.
so it's 2C now, because we added another.
And then my question.
I need to recall that one since it was called out incorrectly, or is it good?
President
good?
Simmons, I would just rephrase it, yep, so just for clarity, yeah.
Okay. Lord Jesus. I'm trying to join the meeting again. Give me a second. Okay, so motion to entertain, do I need to rescind that, or all that
Just
technicality?
restate, I think you're fine,
Thank
yeah.
you. Okay, so motion to approve, this is 2C, Exhibit 2300E3, and we had the motion on the floor by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Patterson. And Commissioner Santiago, thank you for your patience. Go ahead with your comments.
Yeah, I just want to know, so I know that last conversation was to postpone this, and now this is saying motion to approve. So I just wanted just some clarification on what we're approving.
So you all voted at your July business meeting for your bylaws for these positions to start in January.
Okay.
Not for this part to be postponed unless you want that part, but that's what the change was.
Okay.
Answer, Commissioner Santiago, is just, do we agree with the process for these things in preparation for January?
Thank you.
Any further discussion around the student advisory and parent advisory process? Yes. All in favor of Exhibit 2300E3? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. So we're going to move into the multiple policies presentation. That's under discussion item 3B.
All right. So at this time, policies 4205, 4206, 5000, 5153, and 6750 are under review. As a reminder, this is the policy review process that is being followed. So we are now in step 5 at the board work session. These are the folks that contributed to this policy review process. And as always, our standard operating procedure is that the policies were sent out to our relevant advisory groups for review, the district administration, and now is being finalized here tonight. And so policies 4205, 4206, 5000, and 5153 have a required timeline based on the deliverables that are written in the policies. At this time, policies 4205, 4206, and 5000 have no significant changes, and there are no NISBA recommendations. However, for policy 5153, this was brought to the board for discussion. BEC provided feedback to consider. And so the questions or comments that were left were that in a school district with declining enrollment, we must give preference to pre-K families in the primary schools of their choice. The school zone is receiving more weight than a parent's decision to remain in RCSD. And their other comment question was, what about pre-Ks with special programming, i.e. bilingual programs? And so the question for the board is, are there any changes that needs to be had based on these comments, or we can just continue moving it forward as the policy is posted to board docs?
Okay, I'm going to open up for discussion at this time. Commissioner LeBron?
I love how Charisma just simply says, if we want to take this feedback into consideration for 51, 53, and I'm not prepared to open that can of worms, but it has been an ongoing conversation about our managed choice policy, and I get it. I want to uplift that I've been hearing these complaints for 24 years. I was one of those parents that complained about it too. But I do want to point out that by even us simply making a suggestion to this policy that there's an impact on transportation, the routes, and how we're managing with a little bit of the bus drivers that we have. So I just have to uplift that because we're already struggling as it is in the transportation area, as well as in the choice, and it's a very deep and complicated conversation, and there have been multiple groups and focus groups and even board commissioners who have led groups in the past, like Dr. Hallmark, so there's lots of research and data around this topic, and I just want to encourage folks to dig that up, read it, and our incoming superintendent to learn that history too. And so I just wanted to uplift that because I do not want to minimize those two feedbacks that are given. We hear it all the time. But it's so complicated that I don't want to just simplify it by us making suggestions to a policy change. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other conversation or comments regarding the 5153 that's stated there? Go.
I just want to say I support what our parents are saying when it comes to recommendations for this policy. Like Commissioner Brown said, this is a lot of work, and so I mean the board can have conversations about that and how that looks on impact as far as enrollment and as far as placement in the district. But I think that if they made those suggestions and we're hearing that all around, we should take that into consideration.
And I think that, I appreciate that, Commissioner Santiago. I do like to say again that we sit in these spaces and we are furthest removed sometimes from it until until you're talking to the people at the laser level that are closest to the impact or the work. We can oftentimes have suggestions without feeling it, and so when I talk to that mother who says, my child is getting dropped off and they keep missing the first 2 and 3 periods of school and they're showing that they have chronic absenteeism as a result, that becomes problematic and concerning. So I do think that these are things to be taken in consideration. I don't know if it's through a policy. I do think it has to be unpacked and it has to be done in a very careful manner because we could, cause further damage if we don't look at this very carefully. So I'm not going to touch that right now myself, but I'm going to go back to Commissioner LeBron, and then, am I missing any hands, Charisma? Okay.
No, I just want to uplift, though, that it's not, that we have a transportation issue, and that conversation has to happen, but the managed choice is about where parents get to send their children based on the zone that they live in. So I just want to uplift that and I don't want to confuse parents that this is a transportation conversation, but it very much so is tied to the dysfunction of the transportation system that we have, unfortunately, again, with lack of just drivers and structure and system, and more support is needed in that department as well.
Right, so we want to just make sure we're looking at the intersectionality of all issues, but simplifying it, yes. Okay, Commissioner Griffin.
And I did miss some of the information that was stated. I do apologize for that. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that a lot of the parents are looking at other schools because of the stability and the consistency and the administration that they have does not change. So we want to make sure that when we are putting people in positions in the schools, that parents see the consistency in their school, in this school and other schools, then we wouldn't have such a problem. So the parents see that the kids are flourishing in other schools based on the administration that is there. And I truly believe that we can make all schools great if we start to show some type of consistency with our leadership and that's in the schools itself as well as at the central level office. So I think that that's a big problem, and that's why the parents choose to move their children to the district, to a school that has more stability. So, and that's to all of our leaderships. I think you should take heed to those type of things, that consistency makes a difference. When you do changes, parents don't like it, and leadership doesn't like it in the schools, even teachers. So you might want to rethink those type of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. I do see that Dr. Rosser has a comment to make. I also have a hand from Commissioner Elliott. I'm going to go to Commissioner Elliott, and then I'll come into you, Dr. Rosser. Commissioner Elliott?
Thank you. So I agree with what Commissioner Griffin has says. However, I have to include that it starts with the board, so that the leadership on the board level has to also get itself together. We can't point fingers at central office. We can't point fingers in the buildings. They're going to look at what this board does. And so if this board is showing leadership and quality leadership, the central office and the schools will follow. But it's pretty difficult when people are looking at our meetings and they're dysfunctional. So you want to make sure that it starts at the top, and not being able to finish a board meeting because people have left. So we've got to take more responsibility as a board, because that does it does go down to the administration in central office as well as the building. So let's look at how we're taking care of business. How professional are we being?
Absolutely.
And then look at what's going on in the schools. I believe and trust that if the board is less dysfunctional, you're going to see less dysfunction and more stability within our district. Thank you.
Thank you. I totally thank you so much for those remarks, because that is something I have been championing for quite a while now, because we can look back years and years and years, and I do believe wholeheartedly that this board is capable of giving the community the service they deserve. At this particular time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Superintendent Rosser.
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to uplift the feedback that we received from the bilingual families in the committee, particularly around the area of pre-K. One of the things that I've observed and had conversations with pre-K teachers, parents of pre-K students, building administrators, as well as central office administrators, is how we place our pre-K students, and how our students in pre-K may be placed in the building for 1 year, and they transition into a brand new building the following year. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at is that protocol, and potentially making recommendations to the board to create a little bit more stability when it comes to our earliest learners. There's a lot of research that's out there that speaks to frequent movement of our earliest learners actually has an adverse impact on their social emotional development, as well as their academic readiness for the next grade. So I do want to take a look at that. And while this policy is something that of course has been met with great challenges, I would like to take a bite out of that particular piece, which is the pre-K piece.
Yep. Yeah. Camille.
Let me get on the mic. Commissioner LeBron, and then I'll go to Commissioner Patterson. Did you have one too?
Yeah, so let me just clarify, because this conversation, again, has been beaten like a dead horse, but in New York State, pre-K families are allowed to send their children anywhere. We cannot dictate as a school district where that child goes to school. And so what often happens is that parents believe that they're picking a school that they want their child to go to, and because their child is there for pre-K, that their child's gonna get to stay there. And then they hit kindergarten, and now they hit policy. And policy for the district is based on our zoning, our ability to transport, and it's a mess. And I don't want to discourage you from taking a bite and stab and looking at it, but I do want to clarify that we have policy and we have law, And so those two pieces have always sort of clashed. And because we cannot tell parents in pre-K, we can encourage them, and this district has done that. I've had parents say, oh, I wanted my child to go, and I'm gonna just throw a school out there, School 15, which is considered like citywide, right? I want my child to go to 15 for pre-K, there was space, they're there, but they don't live in the zone, and they didn't apply through that like lottery, so then that child then gets bumped out. And then parents are upset, and I get it, but on the flip side, we also cannot legally tell parents what schools where they can put their children in pre-K, and there are some additional things that fall under regulation for pre-K that don't fall into, so that's, I think, the complication right there, and then the zoning piece that we have. I would also, I know that you're building your relationship out right now with our county executive, but I would also encourage you to have the conversation with him about our homeless children and families and the county's placement systems with shelters and moving families from shelters to hotels, and the impact that that has on our children and their ability to even make it to school, let alone get transportation, because we, on our end, we can set up a bus for a kid in 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks, the county might move that family once again out of a hotel to a shelter, right? Because now the shelter, now we are then 2 weeks behind on finding transportation. So there is a gap in that system there too, and it falls within the county and RCSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson.
Yes, two things real quickly. What the superintendent indicated, I'm with him 110%. And I understand that there might be laws or policies that, we have to follow, but if we know these policies or these laws are negatively impacting our students in our pre-Ks, why aren't we as board members advocating to our representatives in Albany to change that law or change that policy? Number two, I just wanted to make a comment relative to our president and vice president that I think you're doing a great job. I'm speaking for myself as far as leadership. We know there's barriers and roadblocks that have been planted and placed in your way. I appreciate, speaking for myself, the contact that I have and communication that I have. And I just want to say to the open public that I'm really appreciative of our leadership and the direction that we're going. I'm really appreciative for the superintendent and giving him or providing him the autonomy to do his job. So I just want to thank you, the leadership, for the job that you're doing. Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate your comments. I do want to say that, we as a leadership are a collective body. That's the most important thing. And there's heads, there's hands, and there's arms and legs that belong to the body, and none of them can move without their component parts. And so we are, we have to acknowledge the dysfunction of this collective body, and I just hope that we can start to move beyond the dysfunction, focusing on the children, the community that we took this oath to serve, and make the decisions that are necessary to drive progress forward for this district. But I don't want to digress from this conversation. Thank you for those comments. I want to move back to the comment at hand on the policy that we're discussing, and I believe I had Patterson, I have Malloy, and then I have Griffin. So I'm going to go to Vice President Malloy at this time.
Yeah, thank you. Just with all the other complications that we've heard from other commissioners, all of those sentiments I agree with. Further complicating matters is that many of our pre-K students get their services through CBOs, right, and have wraparound care with childcare. So that goes into family decision-making a lot of times. So it's a very complicated situation, and I'm sure, I have faith that you'll be looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Malloy. Commissioner Griffin.
Just wanted to touch just really briefly. And maybe I need some understanding here. With the McKinley-Vento, is that program there to help us with the homeless and follow them and keep track of them? How is that system working? Or is there something that we need to do within the district to ensure that the kids that are dealing with the homelessness and shelters, that we need to do something, tweak it, so that we have our numbers are right with them? Can you get some insight on that?
Yeah, the McKinney-Vento is actually federal legislation. It used to be called the Buckley Amendment, and there are things that school districts across the country
Never seen
are
online.
mandated to do as it relates to students in homeless situations. We have a McKinney-Vento coordinator here in our district. Every school district has to have a McKinney-Vento coordinator, and their responsibility is to help coordinate to make sure that the school district is responsive to a family or a child in particular becoming homeless. What Commissioner LeBron was speaking to was really the coordination, particularly with the county around that, because if the county is making decisions that are not informed by a student's educational placement, then those decisions can have an adverse impact on the school district's ability and ultimately our students' ability to receive the academic and social emotional instruction or support needed. So I agree with Commissioner LeBron that as we're working in partnership with CBOs, with our city and our county elected officials, that we most certainly need to continue to advocate and coordinate how we support our families, because ultimately the city is here for our families, the county is here for our families, school district is here for our families, and we as leadership need to coordinate better so that our families, those who we are in service to, are not adversely impacted by decisions or protocols that we have in place.
Okay, so basically what you're saying that the county has a running list of the homeless people as well. We don't know whether they're school age or whatever. Do we know that information? Have we done that in the past? I mean, it's definitely a good thing to do. I'm just trying to clarify how McKinley-Vento incorporates, what they do with the county, how they work with the county as well, and with the school district as well.
Yeah, whenever there's an individual who is facing homelessness, they have opportunity to access services that are provided by the local municipality, and in this case, it's Monroe County. So if someone is seeking shelter, then Monroe County has programs, individuals who are working to provide support to those individuals. In some instances, in many instances, those services are being provided to families who have school-aged children.
Right.
So at that point in time, the school-aged children, along with the parents, are then being placed in places that may be too far away from where the student's homeschool is. So the county doesn't have access to the data that we have because
Right,
that's school
because of
records.
different- then we have
Right,
the laws
but
that
we
cover it,
share
yeah.
a commonality in being able to address the needs of our families.
Would we be challenged by like the FERPA or any, so that we could speak to because you're not speaking, okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Appreciate that.
Rester, and always opportunity to continue to unpack in consideration for this. Charisma, did you want to continue?
Yes, thank you.
What slide are we on? There we go.
So we're moving to slide 6.
Okay.
Which is vendor relations 6750. So this is the last policy that was in this financial management section. And at this time, the question to consider, so when it was reviewed, expanded minority to include Asian and Native American. But for consideration, this deliverable that's at the end of the policy is required by the board. And so it's not a state or law or the federal requirement. The board put this in the last time it was reviewed. So seeing how the disparity study is not conducted as often as the deliverable requires, a review and the metrics have not been updated in over 3 decades, the board may want to consider the review process timeline and metrics to change.
Okay. Any comments on
I want to bring
policy
up.
6750? Vendor relations.
I just wanted to bring up what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. It currently says that at least every 2 years, starting in 2024, that this would be basically reviewed based on a disparity study. And so that's what this is referencing.
Thank you. 6750 is on the table for discussion.
Question, and excuse my ignorance, but I just want to know, did we get this, we got this study last year? Did we review this? I know we get a lot of information, but I cannot remember reviewing anything like this.
No, so that was the point I was making, is that there has not been one in 3 decades. The metrics to this policy hasn't been updated in 3 decades, which is why the question becomes, do the board want to keep the deliverable that currently exists? Because we did have our chief of FAR, Sean Farr, before he left last year, he did reach out to the city, and there was no study conducted in the last 3 years. They did provide some information, but it was specific to New York City.
Yeah.
So how beneficial is this information to us is the key. When these studies are done, what we get back as far as how is the return on our investment within the district here? Do we know that information? I mean, because we haven't done this before, so I'm just curious of what are we getting from this? What information? Do we know?
You know? Okay, so it has happened before, it just has not been updated in over 3 decades. And so maybe you want to add that to the question log to look in, what were your 3 questions?
Explanation of what it is. What are we actually?
You'd like further
Yeah, further
opportunity?
details. I mean, we can't
Okay.
answer something we don't know much about.
Okay. Commissioner Santiago?
I'd say get rid of it. We haven't had it for 30 years, so my guess is it's not that important if we haven't had it for 30 years.
Well, I
so.
wouldn't say that. Some things we just don't do, and we should have been doing a long time ago. That's in the policy. So I think
Okay,
that's
I'm
not
going to call
what the
on
decision
Commissioner, I
is.
want to just keep order of the meeting. I see a hand by Vice President Malloy. Were you done even?
I wasn't.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, I'd just say it, if it's, I think that is a good question to make sure that we know what it is first. But if we haven't had it for 3 decades, I'm sure it's probably nothing, too important. But I would want to see that first. But other than that, if it's not something that's extremely important, I say get rid of it. It adds more responsibility. It takes away from implementation. Thank you.
So this very well may become part of the diet, and I see a hand by Vice President Malloy.
Yeah, thank you. So just to clarify, perhaps our clerk can help us in that regard. So it says the only significant change is it expands the minority to include Asian and Native American. So if we were to make a change, that's the change that we would see in our policy manual. And then, but it sounds like we haven't been doing this disparity study for over 3 decades. So if we get rid of it, do we no longer have, do we need to have a vendor relations policy?
So it's not legally required, but I do know our facility, not facility, right now I'm doing a blink on the procurement and facilities and a couple other departments, they, rely on this for MWBE clients and contracts. To answer that.
Are those minorities listed in other procurement that takes place in the district? I guess that's my real question. Okay, so maybe add that to the question log. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And then one last hand by Commissioner Santiago.
No, I just want to say I looked at it a little bit more. I'm not trying to undertone the importance of it and making sure that we don't have disparities, but I think we need more information behind it first before we make decisions.
Okay. Commissioner LeBron.
I just want to point out that the district has a number of policies and requirements and reports to the board that we don't even do. We don't look at them, and this is why, because at this dais, there have been lots of conversations over decades, apparently, of boards having these flowery conversations. It sounds good, and we're going to make the administration report back to us. This actually looks really crazy in 2025, that to say expand minority to include Asian and Native American to me. And I also just want to caution how we're writing policies and even how we're talking about being inclusive based on what's happening right now at the federal level. And we have some other fights to have. But yeah, there are a number of policies, and part of the policy review was initially this whole calendar that was created by the previous commissioner, Melanie Funchez, was so that we could remove a lot of these requirements that we, over the time, had given administration that never make it to the board, and many reports that the board was getting that they don't even click open. So we're wasting people's time in this, in the administration, we're wasting staff's time, they could be focused on other things. So my support is to remove it, and that we continue to look for any policies that have these reports, that again, if we're not actually doing anything significant with them, we shouldn't require staff to waste their time on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Patterson.
Yes, when it comes to race and culture, I think everyone should be included. And to disclude someone or act like it's less important, than either a black or Hispanic or a white, Caucasian. Yeah, we mention our three groups commonly, but we oftentimes leave out other, cultures and other races. So I think anytime we have an opportunity to have dialogue, we should have that. And whatever the outcome is, it is. But at least for me, I don't think we should just disclude it or act like it's unimportant. It's very important that we include everyone, all races, all sexes. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take one last comment on this policy as to not belabor it because we have to make decisions around them.
I just want to say I did a little bit of digging here because I was concerned about not knowing what the disparity study was. And it simply states, disparity studies are a means of providing factual basis for determining whether there are equal opportunities for all firms in the procurement process and support the need, if any, for race or gender conscious or remedial procurement programs. So to me, this is a very big study that we should have been doing, and perhaps if we had been doing it, we wouldn't have so many things that are happening now in our legal system here at the district. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. I don't see any hands. Okay. And so, Charisma, do you want to continue?
Yes. Before I move to the next slide, I would recommend when the motion happens, maybe with the.
For these-
Wait, did her hand raised now?
Here,
Oh, her hand, never mind, sorry,
4205.
Commissioner Elliott raised as.
Does have a hand?
yes.
Okay. Commissioner Elliott?
I just wanted to comment on what Commissioner Patterson was saying. I do think it's important that we're able to come together as one. However, I do think that it is important that each group who has its own culture be able to honor that, and that may be separation because you have to honor the culture. And that is not in the sense of separation per se as much as it is diversity. And while it is, I enjoy every culture, I think that the African American community has had the worst time in this country. And so there are certain and specific paradigms and issues that we have to deal with in order to make us whole. We're working with people who know their culture. Many of us are just learning our culture. It wasn't in the textbooks. And so I don't necessarily want to look at a European paradigm. I want to know who I am so that I can come to the table whole and so that we can really engage. At this point, it is an uneven engagement on different levels. And until we're able to become whole, that is, in my opinion, the only time that we can really have vulnerable, sincere engagement. But until we don't want anybody else to tell us what our scenario should be. That's something that has to come together from our community, and then we can engage with them. So I just want to share that while that seems that is an altruistic comment, and I do support it, but we have to also look at is what we need as a people ourselves before we can truly have engagement with anyone else. We already know that white people feel that, generally feel they have this false superiority. And then Black folk have this false inferiority. We've got to work on ourselves so that when we come to the table, we're not engaging from a position of inferiority, but we can hang just with them who think that they're superior. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Elliott. Charisma, you had a recommendation?
I was just going to say,
42.
because of the temperature of the room is inconsistent, when the motion comes for this policy, my recommendation is maybe seeing where people stand with removing the deliverable from the end of the policy.
Say that again, I couldn't
The
understand. what you said.
disparity study is at the end of the policy, that deliverable. My recommendation is maybe seeing if commissioners want to just remove that requirement from the end of the policy when the motion comes up.
Remove 6750, you're saying?
The deliverable at the end of the policy.
Oh, the deliverable at the end of the policy. Yeah, okay.
But-
Yeah, I'm amenable to that. Are commissioners amenable to removing the disparity? So what I'm going to do is call it for vote about that language, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, when we get to the motions, I would recommend that. Once, I have a couple more slides and then you
Okay.
can, if you're okay with that.
Okay,
Are you okay with me finishing up?
yes, please.
So I know Commissioner LeBron had championed this before about trying to reduce deliverables that are in policies if information is not being brought forward. So slide 7 shows in yellow which deliverables are legally required and which are not. And so I'm going through this so that as we're reviewing right now, or as the policies go through the review process, commissioners can think if you want to keep these deliverables in the policies or have them removed. Obviously, the yellow have to stay, but the ones that are not yellow can be removed or amended. And so next steps will be to motion out the policies, to move on to the board business meeting, to follow the process outlined in policy 2410 for the board to vote during the October business meeting. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, I'm just getting back to my screen. I appreciate you. Thank you. So.
I'm asking charisma, but you jumped in and I didn't realize I was being that loud, so continue.
Yes, I can hear you. So basically, we are going to motion to move policies 4205, 4206, 5000, 5153, 6550 forward to the board business meeting at this time.
I'm sorry, that's
With-
you mean 6750,
6750, what did I say?
65?
6550? Okay, 6750, thank you. Forward to the board business meeting at this time. And I think there was a revision to 6750 with that revision of the removal of the language. So maybe we'll separate that out. So let me restate this. We are going to take a motion for policies 4205 for 5153 forward to the board business meeting at this time. Motion by Vice President Malloy.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor of pushing 4205 through 5153 to the board business meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay by Commissioner Santiago. And then we have 6750. There was a revision. I wanted to do that one separately because there was a revision to the language.
So motion?
You were looking to do, Charisma? Is that the one you were? Okay. Okay. And so with that, entertaining a motion to make a revision to the language to 6750. What was the language you were proposing?
To remove the deliverable at the end of the policy.
Thank you. And so motion by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Patterson. All in favor of changing the language within 6750?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay by Commissioner Santiago. Now we would like to motion to carry policy 6750 to the board business meeting at this time. All in favor?
Motion.
Or motion, please. Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Vice President Malloy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 6750 carries to, any opposed?
Nay.
Nay by Commissioner Santiago. 6750 carries to the board business meeting at this time. We're now moving into the video conferencing policy discussion 2325.
Right. So the video conferencing 2325, similar to what we do with 2300, there's a PowerPoint that kind of walks the board through the policy language and for board discussion. And so this is directly listed in the actual policy track change on board docs. But the first piece is under Section 2, video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances. Sorry, let me step back for 1 second. The purpose of these updates is just continue to assist the board on to implementing the video conferencing policy and to answer any gray areas that may exist. And so the first policy proposed language would be to Section 2, which will basically explain what it means to be a caregiver in terms of responsibilities when it comes to extraordinary circumstances. And so the question is, are commissioners okay with this language? Should it need to be amended?
Okay, so I want to open the conversation for discussion. When we think about the spirit of what the video conferencing was implemented for, and we know we had COVID and then we had other things, but the New York State law doesn't really strongly define these pieces, and so therefore it can become a bit confusing. So I'd like us to, as a Board of Education, define some clarity around how we're understanding some pieces, because what I may see as an urgent matter, someone else may question if that was an urgent matter or not, and it's not for, so I think if there's concise and clear unity around this language, there's better understanding. So I want to open up the discussion around this extenuating circumstances conversation. Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah, so to your point, the law doesn't say that we have to do this way. And so I am not of agreement. I have a job that works with families and individuals who are experiencing homelessness and other crises in this community and provide current direct services. So unfortunately, I'm stuck sometimes at work, and I am trying to juggle both. And other times, I'm just not feeling well, and I know that I'm gonna blow up with you guys because my tolerance sometimes for what I consider stupidity or ignorance is at an all-time low in 2025 for myself, and that is just me speaking for me. So no, and two, unless it's legally required, again, I will not be supporting that. And I do not think, and I want to point out that during COVID, that the state allowed for more video conferencing and that all government bodies, including the city of Rochester and County Ledge, still utilize video conferencing and do not utilize it because of extreme circumstances. So that's all.
Appreciate your comments. Any other comments from our commissioners? Commissioner Griffin?
For me, I believe as an oath that we took in the beginning, I think that we owe it to our community to be present when we can. And if we can't, this is also a paid job. Some boards do not even get paid. So I think that if we can't make it to the dais to present ourselves to the public who has voted us in to be present, I think that there should be something in place so that, you know, we have to hold responsibility. We have to be responsible adults. So for me, I choose to be here, and I choose to sit in this seat to represent our stakeholders, knowing that I have an obligation. So I'm going to refer back to the oath that we took, and I think things should be put in place so that if you can't make it, and there's so many instances, because if it was at another job, they would definitely reprimand you, and I think that would be a feasible thing to do. It shouldn't be. I think it's unfair for others to be here, and we have families too, and we have responsibilities, and others not to be here. I think it's out of respect for all. So. That's just what I think.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. If I can defer to you for a moment, Council Neal. The actual policy itself does have language regarding extenuating circumstances, correct?
Yes, it does. Again, video conferencing, extraordinary circumstances is required. It's written right into the open meetings law. So for anybody, any governmental body or quasi-governmental body that is subject to the open meetings law, then it is required. Again, the statute itself gives some brief examples, but really the intent is that each body will kind of further iterate on that to figure out what works best for them.
Right. And so I don't know if as this exists, if it's working best for us, because I think there has been some form of concern around our video conferencing. There are some situations that must be honored that I have absolutely no issue honoring. And then we have circumstances that come up, and even if they haven't come up for me yet, I'll speak for myself personally, they may come up for me eventually, and I would want some form of grace. But the lack of communication around them and the way we're moving is causing quite a bit of concern. And I think Commissioner Elliott spoke to it earlier around the fact that we could not even finish a board meeting, and that was not the first time due to lack of quorum. And there are times where folks may not even show up to the meeting, or I'm not sure where they are. And so I'm talking to the clerk to get that understanding. And this is across the board. This is not pointing at one individual. This is across the board collectively. And so I think we need to get to a space where we have an understanding, again, to Commissioner Griffin's point, that we are a body that was elected, that we are paid, and regardless, because I'm going to be quite frank, y'all get on my nerves too. If I must be frank, you know, I have to listen to sidebar conversations, insults, and all types of things. And I have to do this on a very regular basis. But guess what? I still show up. And you know why I show up? I show up because I made this oath to my community. And I'm not asking you your opinion. Of course I'm the president. And when I wasn't the president, guess what? I showed up. And when I wasn't the president, I still let my president know where I was going to be, or I spoke to the board clerk. And so I've always exercised that type of respect because it dictates that I do so. And so at this point, I'm not asking, I'm telling us that we need to have a conversation around how we're going to conduct ourselves in a way that is feasible to the public. Because ultimately, we're not answering to each other, we're answering to the public. Amen. And so, with this said, we need to define extraordinary circumstances and what that looks like. And there's a few more things we need to unpack, because I'd like to get clarity on the open meetings law and what that looks like. Because tell me specifically, it's in the languages here, but just for the purposes of neutralizing this conversation a bit, the open meetings law requires that we are in a public place. Tell me more about that, or the public, if you don't mind, General Counsel.
Yeah, so the open meetings law, and I mean, the intent is that decisions, conversations that the board has pertaining to district business is in the public, and that the public can hear that and understand the decisions that are being made and why they're being made. So, I mean, the intent and the spirit of the law is in the title, open meetings, right? So that is the intent. Now, again, COVID came along and changed some things, and video conferencing really became a part of memorialized in statute, actually an expansion. It was always potentially available, but very limited. So it just became more formalized and expanded, you know, and limited in some ways, so some guardrails put around it. So, for example, I mean, there's a reason why extraordinary circumstances in there, because the intent is for still to have, you know, people show up, right, for the public and have the conversation. So it shouldn't be, the intent is not for just to be kind of optional or on a whim. You know, the intent is that you show up, you know, for the meetings, because there is, for any commissioner of public or any elected person for that matter who is required to be at a meeting, but especially board members, there are potential implications, right? Significant legal implications for lack of attendance. You know, so it's required under education law and in the open meetings law.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. And so, Charisma, if you want to continue with that presentation.
All right, the next piece on slide 4, this is from NISBA's sample. So it talks about disability. Right now, again, the policy is vague, and this will explain more about it. And so again, the question becomes if commissioners want to add this in or not.
What's the ask? What's the question? I don't get it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
What is your ask? What's the question?
So the section I'm currently showing from NISBA's sample, the question is, do you all want to add this to the policy? This is regarding disability.
And I can, and I can talk, I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Hold on. Well, no. I just want to.
What were you saying?
I wanted to add some context to this one, because this would be probably a significant change from how the board has operated to date. This, if the board adopts this, and this was a later change to the regulation. This came about in some point in like 23 or 24, where the governor signed into a law another amendment that allows a member with a disability to appear remotely but still count towards a quorum, right? So this is really the rare. There's another circumstance, right? If there's a state of emergency declared, right, then the entire board could potentially meet virtually. But this is really the only other exception where you could have less than 4 board members physically present and still have a quorum. So again, this would be a significant departure from how the board currently operates. It is not mandated and required, but the law does allow it. And there's another significant implication, right? The risk to the board is if you don't have four members physically present and the board chooses to adopt this, and the board would have to make the decisions about whether, someone qualified for a disability or not, right? And if that was challenged, and it made its way to the commissioner, and the commissioner said, "Board, I disagree with you," then the risk is any actions that you took when there weren't 4 members here,
Right.
could potentially be overturned.
Yeah.
So the law
That's a slippery
allows it.
slope.
Yeah, the law allows it, but I wanted the board to really contemplate it because it is a departure from how you've the standard operating procedure.
Thank you for that foundational understanding. For me, that's particular part, I'm not interested in that. I think it is important that we show up, just as we require our staff members to show up, or the folk that we serve with, administration, should I say, to show up. We should physically be here unless we are unable to do so, and that has at times been the case. But I would not be comfortable with anything permitting that we count physical quorum offline. I do think we need to continue with the practice of a physical quorum and then honoring those online that have to be on there. Commissioner Braun, you had a statement.
Yeah, I support this, and the law supports it. So even if this board didn't vote for it, I just want to point out that it could be then brought to the commissioner for her to make an opinion on it, to make the exception. I'm asking for clarity, Adrian, because there have been a number of commissioners over the years who do have disabilities that come up and medical conditions that require them not to physically be here. And even if they were an employee, we would give them the grace of having time off and being able to attend to those things, or working with them to modify their schedule and allow them to work from home and virtually. So we should be offering the same grace to the commissioners who are not able to be here. So I would support it, but if the law already defines it and supports it and the board doesn't vote for it, what is a board member's recourse to go to the commissioner on that? Just curious.
I guess maybe I'll answer the first part regards to a board member's recourse. I mean, anyone could file anything with a commissioner, right? It doesn't mean the commissioner will take it up. It doesn't mean that it will be appropriately filed. It doesn't mean that they'll get a favorable decision. So anyone as an individual could choose to file something with a commissioner. I believe the law says that this is optional, right? Again, many elements of the video conferencing policy are optional, and a lot of it is already kind of tweaked and tailored, right, to this district. For example, just the protocol by how a board member notifies about requiring extraordinary circumstances, right? Again, that was decided upon by this body. So I believe the law says it's optional. So therefore, it will probably be a losing argument to the commissioner, but again, you know.
You're saying it's an option to opt into this law that the districts do, or because you're saying that this applies to all government bodies, so you're saying government bodies get to opt in or out of it based on how they design their policies?
That's correct, right?
Okay.
So for example, I mean, the portion we just talked about,
But hold on, I just want to clarify then further, because the way that my understanding of New York State, and when we literally just went through this exercise with good cause. So the state puts it out, the city adopted their own version of it, but wouldn't it be, yeah, all right, I got it, thanks.
So
Nope, I got it.
here
Adrian.
is, yeah, so this might put a fine point on it. The regulation itself, right, the section on open meetings law says the public body may determine through its written procedures governing member and public attendance, you know, established pursuant to the section to allow for a member who has a disability as defined in section so on and so forth. So it is optional. And again, this board has, as here today, not adopted it, but it would be a significant departure because the implications, as President Simmons pointed out, is you could have much fewer than 4 board members present, and that would open up a path that the board has not been on before.
Commissioner Griffin?
Sorry. I just want to reflect back. I did a little bit of digging here, did a little bit of research. Why don't we, it looks like back in, let's see, back in 2022, we had an amendment done to how many people can actually be on a video conference. So why don't we take it and look at it a different way, and instead of us having so many people being allowed to be on video conference, we may have, and this is to the board too, reduce the number of people that can be on video conference at one time, and probably implement a time frame in which if somebody needs to be on video conference, they have to give us like a 4-hour window to the president, has to be notified within a 4-hour window. And if there is, the other flip side is it, if there is an urgent situation, how we would address that. But I said, I mean, for the sake of this meeting here tonight, this session, I would request maybe the commissioners go back and amend policy 2350, the video conferencing policy, which states to allow more than one commissioner to participate in via Zoom video, to reduce it so that we're just saying maybe 2 members or 1 member, and if there needs to be 2, then it has to be approved by the board president. I think that's an easy fix. So we do have people that are going to be present, as we took an oath to do, and we don't have to really worry about the absenteeism that we're seeing on this board, and the public wants to see us here. So I think that we need to definitely bring in the reins on that and make some stipulations here. So I don't know what the board thinks about that, but that was done back in 2022, I believe, and we can definitely amend that 2350 policy as far as the video conferencing. Thank you.
Right. I don't want the video conferencing policy to become this restrictive space where we just can't move, but I also don't want to see it abused. And so I want us to find a way to move through this in a way that is congenial. All right, so Commissioner Patterson.
Yes, let's be honest here. We know it's being abused, so let's be honest. Why don't we do something to rectify that situation? So it's a quick statement made, but it's true.
Right, and that's why we are taking a look at this policy to identify a way to move forward so that we are in alignment and have a full understanding as a board. And we may not even finish this conversation tonight, because I think this is going to be a sticky one, but I wanted to open this, which is a can of worms that we will need to close with some definity. I'm going to go to Commissioner Griffin, and then Charisma, you have much more to present on this policy. Commissioner Griffin?
I'm just saying an easy fix right now is, fix right now for us to try to move forward in a consistent manner is to take the amend the 2350 policy for video conferencing, not take it all out, but amend it to say 2 people, commissioners, at one given time can be absent unless authorized by the president at that time. And we have to do something. So I think that that's an easy fix right now until we can figure out something else. And that's to show the public and our stakeholders that we're trying to get some work done. Because right now we're not if we have missing people, we're not getting the work done. So I think that is very important. So I mean, you are the president, but I think that we need to amend 2350 to say only 2 commissioners can be absent on video conference at one time. They did it back in 2022. We can do it in 2025.
Okay, I'm
Reason
going
that
to
was
take control
removed.
of
So
the
you can
of
go
the
back
meeting
to the
for a moment.
videos because all of
And
that
then I'm
was
gonna ask
recorded on
that-
record.
That one person at a time, and I'm going to go to Charisma for what you are looking to say.
I just want to provide clarity. So policy 2350 was, the reason why it was amended, it was amended into 2325. So back in, I think it was 2022, as Commissioner Griffin is referencing, there was a law that passed because if you recall, the commissioners recall, at one point you were allowed to do our meetings all online. And so so basically we had to update our policy to reflect the law that was taking place. And so instead of just trying to do all these changes, the board decided to adopt NISBA sample, which is what you see in front of us now, change the number from 2350 to 2325. We did leave 1 or 2 pieces from our original policy, but that policy no longer exists because of the updates that were required for this current policy. And so with that being said, part of this update, there's a sentence that was added: if more than 1 board member wishes to participate, that was added to this specific new version. So I just want to provide that clarity because that other policy no longer exists for that reason.
Clarity, so we would have to amend the current policy as stated at the bottom, stating that it only 1 or 2, up to 2 commissioners at one given time can be absent. Is that what you're saying? Because this policy no longer is in existence to the listening public. Is that what you're saying, Charisma? Because
Well, what I do want to acknowledge is that there may be times, for example, and respectfully, for Commissioner Elliott might be under the weather, right? She's been on video, and she actually gave me permission quite a while ago to acknowledge that, and so I wouldn't even say that without having had her permission. And so with that, the viewing public may notice she is online consistently. That is honorable, that's understood. And then there may be a time, for example, myself, I'm going to a conference in Los Angeles, I think it is, next month. I believe Commissioner Santiago might be going. There may be different times in which a meeting may occur and commissioners may have different things going on. And I think as long as communications are happening and we're respecting the sanctity of meetings, we don't have to make this too complicated. I think where it starts to get a little confusing and why we even have to have this conversation is when I don't know day to day what's happening, we're in the middle of a meeting, and you know what, I'd rather go home too. I've had a long work day, and I don't think I want to just get up and walk out of a meeting. Right, and no one has communicated, and so that's where, and then I end up online.
Right.
That's where it becomes a little bit confusing, and that's what I'm not willing to put us through, or the community. Charisma, if you want to continue on with this piece. Do you have your hand up? Okay, Commissioner Santiago.
Is there language in the current policy that says, just a plan to notify the board or the board president on when the meeting will be missed or online?
There is language that says that you should notify the board clerk or designee. Oftentimes, I'm not notified. I have to talk to Rahima to find out what's going on. And I think that we should be able to at least notify. I'm even thinking we should do something in writing. I can't be there, you know what I mean? And put the board clerk in there so that there's 2 folks in that communication. I think that would be something that is reasonable.
If it's
right?
already in there, I was going to recommend us adding that, but if it's already in there.
It says 24 hours notice. Should it be at least 24 hours notice to the board clerk unless some extraordinary circumstance kind of prevents that from happening?
Thank you.
My job, that's 1. And 2, one, when I do know in advance, I do notify the board clerk, and that's who I'll continue to notify, because I don't talk to you, so thanks.
And I understand that you will not speak to me, and that is okay. I don't need you to speak to me, but I do need you to follow protocol. Charisma, if you can continue this.
I am following protocol when I reach out to Rahima as soon as I can.
We may
Sometimes
change
I
that language
can't,
because I'm not aware.
But I will not be, I don't care if you change it in the policy, I am not going to be notifying you, point blank, period. This is as much communication as you get right here on the dais in public spaces.
Are you all, I haven't called on you, so we're not going to do that. So, no, we may change that language, and so that might change the protocol, but I will go to Charisma at this time.
So I'm not sure if we want to continue with this next page because it's questions to consider. How does the board want to approve video conferencing requests? What accountability measures will be in place? So
Yeah.
we can come back to that.
So one thing I am recommending is that the board president be communicated with in writing, along with the board clerk, and that are email.
What's going to happen if I don't do it? Adrian, if you want to give an opinion on it, because I'm not doing it.
General counsel, I have not
I
called
will
on
be
you at this
responding
time.
and communicating
Commissioners,
to the
can I-
board
can I-
clerk only. And I
can-
do want to point out that the board, the policy doesn't even address if we get up and leave. It doesn't even address that. So as long as we make it here, we're on record, and then we go. It doesn't address that.
We are a paid elected body, and we have folks that come from
100%.
administration.
And I want the public to know,
And they
this
sit
is the
here.
foreign control right here to my right. You got gripes, take it up with them.
So
Okay.
Commissioners.
I'm not thinking of,
So
I'm
Commissioners-
going to finish my statement, General
Yeah.
Counsel, respectfully. All I want to know is we have administration that comes here, and they stay here, I'm sorry, and they stay here late at night, that's fine. You do that, and you did it at the last board meeting, and we had to lose quorum, and you're doing it again. And this is my issue, that we have, what I'm saying to the general public, have a good day, Commissioner LeBron. Have a great day, thank you. So what I'm saying is that our general public, our children of this school district, our administration that comes here and sits in these board meetings till 11 o'clock sometimes, they prepare presentations, and we're supposed to be focusing on the work of this district. And when people tune in, they get to have popcorn and wine and watch a reality TV show, as you just saw. And I believe that our children deserve more than that. We have children that are dying. We have children who are wanting to read, write, and learn. We have parents that are making decisions about this district, yet we have a Board of Education that is operating in this way. So if anyone is questioning why I said no for 3 years and finally chose to say yes to taking on leadership, you just saw this evening why. There's only 2 ways that you make that decision. Either you convince people or people convince me. And the moment I walked on here, I was asked to do this. And I said no for 3 years because I didn't want to deal with what we see. But I said yes now because I believe our families deserve better. And you're not getting better this evening, but I do believe we will see better at some point. General Counsel, I apologize for cutting you off, but I needed to get that off. And I would like you to finish whatever statement you were making, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Commissioner, to Commissioner LeBron, again, the direct, I mean, it is a violation of Robert's rules to make things personal without the commissioner. So there should not be, comments shouldn't be personally directed. There's a way to comment on an issue without commenting on a person, and that goes for every commissioner. So I was going to address that. But in terms of potential repercussions, to answer the direct question for not following what's in a policy, there's 2 that immediately come to mind. One, if commissioners willfully do not follow things that are in their own policies, right? They put themselves at risk. actions kind of detrimental to the district potentially, and then two, if it impacts decisions and decisions and actions that the board takes, then those actions potentially become subject to being challenged and overturned. So it is important that the board carefully think through what they put into policy, what gets put into policy, and that the board then follows those policies. And if they're not going to be followed, then they shouldn't be committed to policy if the board can't commit to them.
Okay, and I don't want to belabor this conversation too much longer. I know Charisma needs to get through some things. Commissioner Griffin, you have a comment or a question?
To the listening public, I do apologize as well, but this is to just address something that happened and so that we can move forward. I think we should put a stipulation in tonight and vote on amending the policy that if someone leaves the meeting prior to the finish of it, that it should be looked at as an unexcused absence if it's not done within a 24-hour period, so that we can try to minimize this dysfunction that is occurring and the disrespect to the public and to everyone at hand. I think that that's something that we can do, can't we, Adrian? In this policy right now, we can amend it so that if you leave prior to the meeting being finished, then that would be looked at as an unexcused absence, and if you have 3 or more, then other proceedings can take place. We need to be hardball. We need to do this to make sure that we can get some work done. This is unfortunate that we have to do this because we're all adults. At least we would think we are, and when we take an oath in office. I don't know what we're dealing with right now, but what I know is that this is embarrassing. So I think to minimize this from happening at additional meetings, I think we should amend the policy to state that if anyone leaves prior to a meeting and without notifying the board president within a 24-hour notice, then it would be looked at as an unexcused absence. Can we put that in there somewhere today?
Just the board could make whatever decision it chooses to make. My recommendation would not to do that, and it's not that I understand the intent and the aim. I think you have to be very, very careful with what that language would be, because that would capture any number of board members for any reasons who had to leave. So I think that should be, that's a board decision and deliberation, and if that's where the board wants to go, the language would have to be very specific, deliberate, and thought out, because otherwise you could potentially capture a lot of innocuous actions and board members and something like that.
Okay, and
So,
I understand there's some
we're gonna-
actions that can take, I'm sorry, I understand that there's some innocuous actions that can take place. Name one.
So I'll give you one. That's exactly what I was getting ready to
Okay,
do.
name
So
one.
for
I just
example, like
wanna-
I love my daddy. Everybody knows I'm a daddy's girl, right? And you know what? I'm not even going to use him as an example. I also love my dog. My dog is already gone, but if something happened to my dog, well, I don't know if that's a good example either. But if something happened and I had some form of an emergency, and I, panicked, left the meeting or what have you, I think, we have to consider those pieces. And I think this is so complex and nuanced that we want to be very careful, to General Counsel's point, that before we make any strong decisions, we have an understanding of the trickle effect and how this impacts and what those scenarios can look like. What I would recommend is that maybe we work with CGCS, since we're already partnered with them, on working through this language so that we have something that is fair to all commissioners and something that makes sense, because sometimes there's blind spots when we're making these decisions, and I don't want these decisions to be based on our frustrations with some of the things that we're experiencing as a board body, but based on sound decision-making. I'm going to take one last comment, and then I'm going to move forward to Charisma. Okay, I see 2, and then Charisma, we need to clean this out. We're approaching 8 o'clock.
I'm going to make it really quick. What I haven't seen is accountability. There's no accountability. I've been here, this is my 4th year, and I've seen no accountability for board members' actions in 4 years. So we have to, at some point in time, have that as a discussion.
Well, those are things that I think we can try to put in place, as far as, but they have to be legal, and they have to, there's a lot of nuance. And, the general public asks me a lot of questions at times. And I think as we continue these conversations, we can provide clarity and hopefully some form of movement. Vice President Malloy.
I'll just say this, not to belabor the point. Student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And accountability is looking at ourselves. I have to look at myself. I've had to make adjustments over the years and think about my behavior on this board. I think we should hold ourselves accountable first. I will say this, though, in terms of like attendance, some of us are here every single time, and the burden that it places on individual commissioners. We are a body of 7, not a body of 4. We're a body of 7. And the pressure that it places on individuals who are always here, I'm not saying that serving the public is a burden in any way, but some of us are always here and aren't using online, even though there are compelling reasons sometimes for us to do so in our own lives. We've made sacrifices. I've shown up sick here to the board because I knew we weren't going to have a physical quorum otherwise. And so I think accountability starts with ourselves. President Simmons has said it before, we've got to point those thumbs back at ourselves. But again, this all trickles down to our students, and student outcomes aren't going to change unless adult behaviors change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Charisma, if you'd like to just continue. Oh, State Monitor, Alisea, I'm sorry, thank you.
No problem. Thank you, President Simmons. I just want to make a statement that because of the behavior that we have seen here today and the behavior that we have seen throughout my 2.5 years in the district, that's why there's a new recommendation in the academic plan about the training with NISBA. We got to make sure that we're here for the students. We got to make sure that if we are talking about behavior and that we're not going to tolerate this behavior from the students in the classroom, we got to be role models. We got to be role models for our students. We got to be role models for the staff. When you were elected to be a commissioner of education, and there's 735 school districts in New York, only 5 school districts get compensated, the big 5. The other school district, they do it because that's their passion, and I'm not saying that that is not your passion or our passion, but they don't get compensated. And they work together because they want to make a difference for the students, the staff, and their community. It is time for us to work together as a board, as a body, and to continue to do what's best for the students in the Rochester City School District. This is not about me as a person. This is not about you as a person. This is about the 22,000 students that you have in this district, the 20,000 plus families that elected you to be here to represent them, to make sure that their kids get quality education. It is time to move forward. It is time to take action. It is time to work as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. State Monitor. Charisma, please.
Right. So I'm going to move forward with the next slide because it doesn't sound like this slide needs to continue to be fleshed out as well. And then the next section is a new section. It's being called Section 3, Temporarily Mutant Board Members Utilizing Video Conferencing. And so the goal of this new section is 2 things. One, there are sometimes board members may be using video conferencing, they're having technical difficulties, so we can hear feedback, or they don't realize they're unmuted, and so that's the one part. The second piece is there's been times where the chair may be asking a board member to, come back, and they're not responding to the the chair trying to bring the meeting back to order. And so this would be the option for commissioners to look into.
Oh, that language might need to be tightened up because I don't want it to get caught in the nuance of I don't like what you're saying, because people have the right to share their opinions or what have you. And they may contradict what you believe. They may not, and so folks have the right to share those things. And they might sting a little bit. what we don't have the right to do is disrespect one another, use profanity, scream and yell, turn into the Wizard of Oz while we're on video conferencing. And that's what it's like in this conference room when we're yelling over that. And so just like it can be somebody else tomorrow, it can be you the next day, it could be me the next day. And so again, when we're making these decisions, we have to think of ourselves in mind, but I want us to carefully think through what that might look like. Any thoughts on that? We've had to try to recess. We've got a couple examples of commissioners online together where we could not silence either one of them. We've had commissioners who, got to sharing their thoughts. The thoughts are fine, but the disrespect and the name calling and all that's where it becomes this nuanced piece of muting. And so, again, it's something that has to be considered, but also with our lack of emotional regulation on this board, I don't want it to be something that is another trigger or a weaponized mechanism for us. That's not what that would be for. So I think we need to probably take this conversation to CGCS just to provide that clarity. General Counsel, are you thinking?
I think that's wise, President Simmons. You're absolutely right. This it is a slippery slope. There is the potential for a viewpoint discrimination instead of just kind of decorum, and that would be really that would not be lawful. I think the proposal as put forward here did build in an automatic appeal, right? And so if it did occur, then it would automatically go to the board to say, hey, board, was I right or was I wrong? Essentially, from the chair. But I think it is worth, again, because it would be really a departure from how the board has historically operated, and it would be some new protocols. I think a further conversation would probably be prudent.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll go in that direction. We've got a lot to unpack, but we are at least moving in the right direction. But again, I'd rather slow down and get it right than to hurry up and not have it and have to come back and revisit this. So with that said, Charisma, you don't have no more to do, right? Okay, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Okay, so we're going to, so with that said, identifying that we want to have maybe some more conversation and move this to CGCS for additional guidance, even NISBA, to get some clarity around, the best way to go forward so that we're not making any missteps. I guess I'm going to ask that we motion to move this policy or table this policy discussion and defer to CGCS and NISBA for additional guidance at this time. So with that motion. Motioned by Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Vice President Malloy. All in favor of tabling this for further discussion with our consultants? Aye. Any opposed?
Can I?
The ayes have it. We're gonna move on from that conversation because we belabored
Can I just
it.
add something? I just wanted to ask. Can we actually put down some of our thoughts and ideals to be given to a CGC by, I think we meet with them Thursday, so that they can kind of, if they have the time to even look at them to see if it's something that is possible that we could do to amend the policy?
Yeah, I've actually I've been for months saying we need to start looking at some of this stuff because this is crazy, right? And I don't know if CGCS will be able to, at this short period of time, address it with us on Thursday, but I think it's something we can introduce as we have an interest in looking at this, giving them opportunity to look at our policy, opportunity to share our suggestions, and then take it forward. But did we?
That's fair.
Did we finish that motion now? Did we vote on it? Okay, so that carries. And I want to just move on to the board policy review calendar for 2023 through 28.
So the only change with this calendar was recently the board amended policy 6745, authorization for contracts. Based off of that updated minute policy, there's now a required review annually, and so now the calendar includes that policy coming forward to the board when it's supposed to, based off that update.
Okay. All in favor? We have to motion on that one? We don't, Lord. Motion to
Motion.
move forward with Board Policy Review Calendar 2023-28. A motion by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, because we've had such extensive conversation, necessary conversation, we do have communication protocols, and there are some additional modifications to the protocols as written. So at this time, we're going to pause on those, or was that, did I miss something? Hold on one second, let me make sure I'm clear. I think I'm making things up.
Yeah, thank you very much. The Executive Leadership Cabinet, myself and others have been having conversations around the communication protocols. I received feedback from the executive team, and I did not have an opportunity to work with Board Clerk Wynn for those to be reflected in this document. So my request is that we table this until such time that I can have those conversations with her, and we can incorporate the feedback that my team and I would like for the board to then converse about.
Thank you. When you say table, Dr. Rosser, are you thinking maybe the next board work session?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. And confirmation, Charisma, the next board work session would be on September 9th at 6 p.m. for the conversation around communication protocols. So we will revisit at that time. Thank you. Oh, and Dr. Rosser, I'm sorry.
Do you have to motion that?
Oh, let me motion to, thank you, I can't make that decision. Motion to, there was not a vote on that? It's just his presentation? Listen, I was going to go with it. Thank you, Commissioner Santiago, because I do forget sometimes, so I do appreciate that redirection. But before we move forward on the agenda, you have somebody here this evening. This has been a long evening, but they are here. And Dr. Rosser, I'd like to turn the mic over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I do want to introduce to our community and to our board once again a person that I've had an opportunity to work with over 2 decades now, I believe. We did work together in Buffalo, New York, served on the same team together that helped elevate student success throughout the Buffalo Public Schools, and I'm happy to welcome her on as her second day as the Deputy Superintendent of the Rochester City School District. So Cassandra Wright, Dr. Cassandra Wright.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. It's a pleasure. I've got to meet you yesterday. I think was it yesterday for the first time? And so I do look forward to your work here at the Rochester City School District. Thank you for coming.
Is there anything she want to say?
And so we're going to go on to the school. I'm sorry.
Do you want to say something, Dr. Wright?
Yes. Oh, thank you, Commissioner Griffin.
I was just asking.
All I want to say is it's a pleasure to be here. Absolute pleasure. I look forward to working closely with Dr. Rosser and the cabinet. We're going to do great work together. Thank you.
Turnaround, huh? Okay, thank you. So we're going to move into our academic discussion items, and that is school readiness being our first item here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this opportunity to talk about school readiness is really just as a reminder to our families and to our caregivers that school is fastly approaching. And we just want to make sure that we're putting out the reminders so that our families can most certainly have their children ready for school. The report that I give at the end of the month during our business meeting as a part of the superintendent's report will outline our school readiness in welcoming our staff as well as our children back to school. But we did want to sort of share early in the month of August some things just to help our parents be reminded of things that they can engage in to be able to support their children's readiness to the new school year. Next slide, please. So the first day of school, of course, is Thursday, September 4th. We really encourage all of our families to begin preparing their children for this exciting moment of their lives. Of course, we all understand that the educational process is a process by which all of our children will have opportunity and access to be able to maximize their potential. And we want to work very closely with our families and our caregivers to make sure that all of our children are ready, and then once they're in our schools, for them to then be prepared for a high-quality educational experience. So some of the checklists that we want to sort of remind parents of: have you checked your child's welcome back packet? Our schools are sending information out. We want to make sure that the information that you receive, that you sign and return all required forms. We also want to remind our families to begin the process of checking your school's arrival and dismissal times. And there's our address by which families can most certainly check the bell times, which is on our website. If any family has moved or changed their telephone, please notify your child's school. That is the only way in which we will be able to maintain good communication between school and home, is for us to have updated information of where your new household is moved to, or if your telephone number has changed. And then transportation. Look for your bus assignment the last week of August. This past August 8th, we did close our process for parents to submit information to guarantee transportation. We do share with families that if you did miss that guideline, that deadline, to most certainly still notify us so that we can begin working to make sure that your youngster has transportation to and from school. Another big piece which is extremely important is the immunization requirements. So the state of New York requires that students have certain immunizations. Please make sure that if you're aware of the immunizations that your children need, then you most certainly are making those pediatric appointments so that your children can most certainly receive a high-quality education. Unfortunately, here in the state of New York, whenever a child does not have his or her immunization, school districts, and I say school districts, not just the Rochester City School District, but school districts across the state of New York are mandated to exclude students who have not had their immunization shots. So please make sure that your children have their required immunization shots for the school year. And if you have any questions, you should most certainly contact Monroe County Health to schedule an appointment at 585-753-5150. And please note that many times that walk-ins are not accepted. And then I want to also share with our families that I will be, of course, hosting a community conversation specifically for parents and caregivers. I want to be able to provide them with an opportunity to be able to not only hear from me, but also to be able to ask me questions and insights about how the district is supporting their children, which I'm embracing as our children. The event will be Saturday, August 23rd at 11 a.m. at Dr. Iris J. Bannister School, number 33, which is located at 500 Webster Avenue. We look forward to welcoming all of our families to the promises that we hold for our children, which is to provide them with a high-quality educational experience. During the same event, we will be hosting our Back to School Jam under the leadership of the Office of Parent Engagement. That will be from 12 until 2 p.m. There will be backpack, school supplies giveaway, youth activities, free food, community resources, and a number of other exciting things to really celebrate our children as we welcome them back to the 25-26 school year. So with that being said, I look forward to providing an update on the school district's readiness to accept our children and our staff back to school at our August business meeting later this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosser, for your presentation and just the demonstrating the readiness we're preparing. We are preparing and ramping up, and so we do look forward to a more comprehensive breakdown on where we stand regarding readiness at this time. I do want to just ask, is there any questions based on, or Dr. Rosser communicated or presented at this time? We're going to move in. I see no hands. Vice President Malloy?
I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Thank you. Brevity is nice. So we're looking at our resolution review packet at this time. I do want to remind commissioners that this resolution review, once we take a look at these resolutions that are listed in draft form here on board docs, we then will have the opportunity to move them forward to our business meeting for the consent agenda. Once resolutions appear on that consent agenda, they are ready to be voted on. That means that they have been vetted, our due diligence has taken place. So today is August 12th. If there is a resolution in here that's causing you concern, questions, or confusion, and you're saying, I need to learn more about this, we as a board can make the decision to hold the resolution. Charisma, guide me with that nod, because you know it's a long night for me too. I have a long day in front of me. But we have the opportunity to remove it or not move it forward to the consent agenda. And then we have between today and then August, I believe 28th, if I'm not mistaken, or 29th, for consideration to get those questions or that clarity answered. If we are okay with what we see and we move it forward to that consent agenda, when we get there for that board business meeting, and we are saying aye or nay, matter of fact, we're not even saying nay, we're saying aye, because we've done all of the other work. So I want to make that very, very clear. And at this time, we're going to go into the resolution packet. What?
The aye and the nay part, if a commissioner, because the consent agenda only allows.
That's why I corrected
Right.
myself. It's
Okay.
only a yay, right?
Yeah, so if a commissioner, like this, if it's 5 resolutions and the commissioner only agrees with 4 yays, 1 nay, then that would need to be removed from the consent agenda during that meeting. So I
Yes.
just wanted to add that part.
Thank you for that added clarity. Vice President Malloy, I saw a hand.
It was just regarding a question, just regarding the numbers for resolutions. So are they assigned later? I just didn't see any resolution numbers. Do those get, I don't know exactly when those get assigned.
Yes, the goal in the future would be to add the resolution numbers during the work sessions, but at this time, they will be added later. They're not there already.
So what I would, if there is a resolution for discussion, for reference for us, it starts with a 14. So we can just kind of reference that where we see the resolution and call it out at the bottom of the page on the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see different numbers. So that might help us if you want to bring one to light. With that said, are there any, I guess, what am I looking at? Motion to, well, we're looking at the resolutions at this time. Were there any that we had questions about? These are academic resolutions. No questions? I'm scared. Right, I'm not gonna, so I'm gonna stick beside it, and I'm gonna move forward. Motion to forward the attached resolutions to the business meeting consent agenda at this time.
So moved.
Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving into the administrative supports resolutions. And again, we have another packet of resolutions. These are regarding our August administrative support resolutions. Are there any questions or concerns that we need to address here?
Here, I have a quick question.
Vice President Malloy?
Is there a chance that we'll see additional resolutions added
Yes.
after tonight?
Yes.
Go ahead and clarify that.
So Similar to the current process, when resolutions are added, after you review this tonight, there'll be that section that says that, like, resolutions added after the draft packet.
Thank you.
Many. Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't have my hand, sorry.
And so, Charisma, with that said, that, because resolutions are kind of living and breathing. It is different departments that have different needs that are at different stages of the process. And so although we may have these in front of us, that's why we see them come in, because I know that has been a point of question. And Dr. Rosser, did you want to clarify anything in addition to that, or?
No, you stated it well.
Okay.
You know, there are things that we're working on, and there are a lot of things that are in process, and there may be additional things that are added to the business meeting. We have another 14 days before our next business meeting, and there's a lot of work that the team, as well as, you know, school leadership is engaged in doing to prepare for the upcoming school year.
Thank you. Commissioner Santiago, I saw your hand.
Yes, for resolution regarding School of the Arts. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the number. Oh, there's no number. So the resolution around.
Because what page, look at the bottom corner, the right-hand corner, it'll have like it ends in 49, but it'll have like a little page number or something.
10. Oh, sorry. No, that's 38.
38, okay.
38. If I can just ask, you know, what exactly, I mean, I don't know if this is new or this is something that has been practiced for a while, but I think the only thing that's used over there at the Memorial Art Gallery is the field. And so I'm wondering, when it comes to this, what are we paying the $6,000 for? Is it for the field that they're using across the street? It's for the field? We're paying $6,000 for a field?
Who's answering that?
The superintendent? Anybody?
Yeah, in my conversations with Chief Scott, who unfortunately is not with us today, we do need to have extra physical education space, and this would be to support utilizing space that is not our property.
Okay. I went to School of the Arts, so we use that field a lot, but not a lot. We use that field during physical education to go on walks, but I'm surprised that we're paying $6,000 for a field.
We can most certainly be prepared for the business meeting to provide whether, because it may have been something that has historically been done. Yeah. I don't have that information in front of me. Yeah. But looking at the terms of this agreement, 2025 to 2029, it could have been something that is long-standing, but we can most certainly have that information for our business meeting.
Yeah, I just think of, I don't know, it's not like we're using a building, we're using a field. So that the community uses also over there. And I think U of R could do better than just $6,000, right, Dr. Blocker? They don't need $6,000 over there. But that can be conversations later on. I just think $6,000 is a lot of money for a field.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. I will say that out of my office window is the Memorial Art Gallery field. And I do see those babies enjoying themselves, and they are so free. I didn't know it was $6,000, so they're not free. But I have to say it brings a smile to my face when I see the different. So now I have a better understanding of what I'm looking at. Seeing the children play and really, and it's very organized. Yeah. But
if I can say, like,
that's a good
it is definitely used. You know, and when I was in high school, that's what we used to go outside and all that stuff. But I didn't know $6,000 was behind
expensive. That. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on the resolutions?
I'm sorry. Before you get to the motion part, my recommendation, because correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent Rosser, but you said you would have the answer for the business meeting. If that's the case, I would recommend pulling this resolution from the consent agenda, because at this time, it doesn't sound like it will be answered before the meeting goes live.
This one we just discussed?
Yes.
With the 38 on at School of the Arts?
Yes.
Okay, so motion to remove resolution, I don't have a number, but it is on page 38 regarding the School of the Arts and University of Rochester. If we remove that from the consent agenda, we will not move it forward, we'll hold it from the consent agenda, all in entertaining a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Vice President Malloy, Commissioner Griffin, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so with resolutions, are there more? Or did we get them all? Thank you.
you got 'em all.
So with that said, entertaining a motion to move our resolution packet minus Resolution 38 forward to the August business meeting consent agenda. Entertaining a motion to do so.
So moved.
Vice President Malloy, Commissioner Patterson, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries with the exception of 38. We have no reports, and at this time, this meeting may recess into executive session, closed to the public, to discuss matters leading to the appointment or employment of a particular person, to discuss matters made confidential pursuant to federal or state law, and to receive the advice of the general counsel as permitted by Section 105 of the Open Meetings Law. Motion to, or entertaining a motion to exit into executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, executive session. Thank you.